good morning. While the blank for the other bowl project that I got running is going on. uh, all right, good morning. While the blank for the other bowl project is curing, the glue's curing on that. I'm going ahead and laying out the blank for my next bowl project. And what it is, it's going to be a recreation of this one, which I really like the look of, and it's reasonably simple to do, and it doesn't really require anything special except for the layout. Now the thing is, I'm not going to do a 100% repeat of this. I'm going to make it larger, and what I need to do is determine how big the blanks need to be. So what I did was just grab my compass, and I drew out, a semicircle on a sheet of paper, and then I measured off a 120-degree angle, because again, I got to make 3 cuts at 120 degrees. And now I just have to figure out 2 things, and the first one is, of course, is what's the distance from the center point to just outside the circle's circumference, which in this case is 4.5 inches, and then what's the length between the arcs, or the points on the arc out there, and that in case it's 7 7/8 inches. So what I'm trying to do is see if I can find some wood that's laying around, or if necessary, glue up some blanks in the other species. And what I'm going to need to end up with is a piece, 3 pieces of wood, 5 by 8.5. You know, if they're a little larger, that's fine. I don't want them any smaller than that, because again, I need to make sure that I don't end up having not enough wood when I do this, because what I'm looking at is a final bowl that's going to be about 2 inches bigger across than this one, and probably at least an extra ring, if not 2 rings higher. So anyway, with that, I will go searching through my pile, and I will come back and show you the next step. All right, I've got, well, I was about to say 3 glue-ups. Actually, I only got 2. I was able to get a piece of limba that is the appropriate size, and of course, I made sure I checked it against my my template here, my blank, and then I dug into my scrap bin, and this was a dig into the scrap bin, and I found a piece of cherry, a long thin piece of cherry that, you know, I had no idea what I was going to end up using it for. So in this particular case, I'm going to hit and glued it up, and as you can see, I've got a bit of an interesting grain pattern there. So I think that's going to look nice. And then the last thing I did was the sapele. Okay. Yeah, I didn't have a big enough piece, so I had to do a re-glue or a glue up, and I got another blank here. And again, you can see I just got a smaller piece glued in the center of the top piece. And again, yes, I double checked my measurements and made sure everything was going to fit. So anyway, the thing to do right now is let the glue cure on the 2 glue ups, and just let this sit and wait for the glue to cure. And I'm going to sit and wait for the glue to cure, and then it will be on to the next step. So I'll give it. Anyway, what I did was, and let me go ahead and show you the close-up. I went ahead and I marked the center of each of the 3 boards, and then I marked, well, coming off the bottom of the board here, 30 degrees from the base of the board, or 60 degrees from the top, and that is going to give me my then I marked the line on there, and then I drew an X showing me that's the area I need to cut out, and that's going to give me, well, that's going to tell me where I need to cut things out when I take these outside and actually chop these corners off. Probably going to do it on the miter saw, since I bought this digital angle gauge, which is laying around here somewhere, and I can get a really precise cut with the miter saw. It's easily as precise as I can on the table saw. But anyway, this is one of those things where the more precise the cut, the less futzing with things I have to do later on. And yeah, so anyway, I will come back and show you what that looks like after it's done. But that's probably not going to happen today, and it's definitely not going to happen tomorrow. So maybe on Monday. All right, talk to you later. All right, I took these 3 pieces out, and I cut them. I cut the miters on them on my table saw. I set up the miter gauge extremely carefully with the help of a digital angle gauge. There you go. And really comes in handy when you're looking for those super precise cuts. So anyway, right now the challenge is to get these 3 pieces glued up. I've got 3 good mating surfaces, or multiple good mating surfaces, and after I get them after I get them glued up, they are going to need some sanding to clean up, and a little bit of filler is going to be needed. So I could do these 2 at a time, but again, I'm just going to do them like I did the last one, which is going to be 3 at a time. So, oh, and in case you're wondering, I did double check my measurements. I'm looking at about a little over a 4.5 inch radius from the center. Duh, that's where the radius comes from. So anyway, I'm looking at about a 4.5 inch radius, so I'm going to have a chance to have a reasonably good sized bowl, but I'm going to work on the final dimension, final diameter of the bowl after I get these blanks glued up and at least get some basic trimming done. So anyway, here we go. My glue up is complete, and let's show you what it looks like, give you a close-up here. And I think it came out pretty good, although if I were going to take a do-over on it, I think what I would do is go ahead and make sure I had 2 good mating surfaces, and then actually trace the exact match on the 3rd piece rather than trying to glue 3 pieces up at once. You saw how much of a hassle that was. So anyway, the next thing to do is take a compass and do some layout. All right, you know what? Let's try that completely again because I was just all over the place. Here it is. Here is the large salad bowl that I just finished working on, and it's still a little oily from the final stage to finish I put on there. You saw me put on the mineral oil for rub in some mineral oil to it. But what you didn't see me do was heat up my mineral oil beeswax combination, and then rub that onto the wood, then let it cool, and then I buffed it out. Although you can see the sheen that gives it, and I think it comes out looking pretty good. But anyway, the wood here, as I mentioned earlier, is limba, and then sapele, and then there was that cherry piece. And again, the cherry piece was just one long strip that I cut down and laminated, and I like how the lamination came out because of the mix of the heartwood and the sapwood on that. I never quite know what I'm going to get when I'm doing the the glue ups, unless it's something kind of obvious like this, as opposed to something more like this, what the stripes are going to do when they're going up the corners and sides. So anyway, I think this came out looking pretty good. It's got a 100% food safe finish on it. That's just going to need a little bit more time to kind of soak into the wood. It won't really cure. It'll just soak in the wood and dry out. It needs to be buffed again. But then once I'm done with that, I'm going to send it off to a friend, and she can keep it finished by just rubbing salad bowl oil that you can get at a grocery store or a hardware store into it. Although you could just go with something like plain walnut oil if you wanted to. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this build as well, and I'm working on some other stuff. So yeah, I guess that's it for now. So I will talk to you later.